Welcome to another webinar organized by Fiscal Solutions, and here today with Avalara. Today we want to address one big topic about e-invoicing. As you know, as a global e-invoicing regulations evolve, retailers face increasing challenges with adapting to diverse regulations, integrating systems, and ensuring compliance. The task of aligning e-invoicing with ERP, accounting, and back-end systems can be overwhelming. My name is Sonja Stekic, and I am marketing manager, and I will be your host today on this topic. Besides that, what I was previously said, retailers also face concerns like raising costs, delays, and the risk of fines for non-compliance, especially as they expand into new markets all around the world that has different requirements and, of course, deadlines. All those complexities, they can slow down implementation and increase risk, as you know, but I'm sure it doesn't have to be this way. And because of that, we are here today to explore how Avalara and Fiscal Solutions have partnered to streamline e-invoicing and simplify the whole process for global retailers. By offering a unified solutions, Fiscal Solution and Avalara have goal to make it easier to manage e-invoicing across multiple markets. So, of course, you as a retailer can focus on growing your own businesses because you don't have to worry about compliance risk or the cost of maintaining multiple systems. Throughout this webinar, you will hear from experts who will provide practical insights on how to tackle all of those challenges that I mentioned before. Here with us today, we have Camila, the product manager and director for e-invoicing and e-reporting, and Steven, he is a sales executive for tax technology solutions EMEA at Avalara, and they will walk us through how Avalara's enterprise e-invoicing solutions actually helps businesses to stay compliant across borders and how these solutions actually can be leveraged to large enterprises to ensure fast, scalable, and compliant e-invoicing. And from Fiscal Solutions side, of course, we have Ivan, head of software development, and he will explain how Avalara e-invoicing for POS powered by Fiscal Solutions can help integrate e-invoicing directly with your point of sale systems, making the whole process even more efficient for you. We will show you how working with one provider and one solutions can simplify integration and reduce risks, and also help you avoid the penalties that come with non-compliance. Plus, we will dive into how you can implement the solutions to achieve a more scalable, cost-effective approach to e-invoicing across all of your markets around the world. Thank you all once again for joining us, and I'm excited to dive into this conversation. And I want also to encourage you to stay engaged to the whole season, to the whole session. And of course, if you have any question, I will ask you to feel free to address them during the Q&A session at the end, or to write it down below in the comments. So with that, let's get started, and I will hand it over to Camila and Steven to take us through Avalara e-invoicing solution.
So, hi everyone, good morning, good evening. My name is Camila Ferrat. So can you just confirm that you are hearing me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Cool. So my name is Camila Ferrat. I'm product manager for the e-invoicing and live reporting solution at Avalara. Just some words about me. So I joined Avalara a year ago, and before that, I spent more than 10 years as a tax advisor working at Deloitte and EY and also other service providers. I represent Avalara in France and also in different local and international organizations related to e-invoicing. Over to you, Steven.
Thanks very much, Camilla. Hope everyone can hear me okay. It's a pleasure to be here today speaking to you all. My name's Steve. I've been at Avalara for nearly 4 years now, and I'm a tax technology manager supporting new business. So I work with businesses from all sectors, including retail, to help them find the right solution because to achieve compliance across e-invoicing mandates globally. So it's great to be here today. Thanks very much, Camilla. Okay, we're going to go on to the first slide. Here we go. Okay. Perfect. So I'm just going to kick off by providing you with an overview of Avalara to ensure that you're familiar with exactly who we are. So Avalara is a US business. We were incorporated in 2004. And the reason was to establish a solution to adhere to the complex tax requirements posed by the United States. Now, we've quickly grown to be an international business, and we now have a broad range of solutions to support a wide range of indirect tax compliance needs. And of course, on the landscape at the moment is e-invoicing and live reporting. So we have developed a sophisticated solution that's very much scalable to help businesses stay compliant as they are impacted by those mandates as they grow. But as a business, we've got over 41,000 customers around the world. Across our product suite, and we actually, in terms of our reporting capabilities, in 2023, we actually filed more than 6 million returns. So that's just to kind of give you an idea of the scale of Avalara. And now with e-invoicing coming into the fray, that's also going to be something that we're supporting a huge number of our existing, but also new customers with as they grow. Thank you. We can move on to the next slide. Right, so in terms of our offerings, e-invoicing and live reporting is really important at the moment, and that's why you're all here. But just to give you a little bit more background on Avalara, it's not just e-invoicing and live reporting that we support businesses with. It is that whole indirect tax compliance journey. So first and foremost, we support businesses with registrations in markets internationally, but then it's the reporting that's really important. So across our AvaTax, our US solution, but also VAT reporting, managed VAT reporting, our international solutions, we take away the burden of tax compliance. But like I say, there are lots more things we help businesses with. So within the US, lots of businesses need to comply with exemption certificate management. When businesses are shipping internationally, they need to ensure that they're calculating the correct rate of duties and make sure their HS codes are correct. All of those elements we support businesses with mature and sophisticated solutions. Now, e-invoicing and live reporting is something that is impacting businesses internationally. And we are seeing at the front end that businesses want a solution that can scale with them. So we have got our e-invoicing live reporting solution, which we're going to speak to you about today, which very much provides businesses with that easy integration through pre-built connectors, in this case with Fiscal Solutions, which we're going to talk about today, to automate the ingestion of that data to be able to create the returns in the format required by different countries and then send them through the applicable network. So that hopefully gives you an overview of Avalara's solutions. But on the next slide, importantly, you will see we've got a huge partner ecosystem. Okay, and Fiscal Solutions come into that. So we've got over 1,200 different signed partner integrations. So these partners, in a lot of cases, technology partners, are certified implementation partners across our solutions. But then we've got these great relationships with our partners where in a lot of cases they've got pre-built connectors. And that just makes it really easy for businesses to connect to our solutions. So we're really, really pleased to have this relationship with Fiscal Solutions. And we know that that connector that they've developed is going to help a number of you here and many other businesses to automate the ingestion of that important data needed to comply with the e-invoicing requirements. Thank you, Camilla. I'll hand over to you.
Just muting myself. Thanks, Stefan. So as you can see in this slide, we are very proud about the fact that Avalara has been recognized as one of the leaders of the e-invoicing in Europe, in the IDC market in September. So this recognition validates the innovation that our team are delivering daily to ensure that organizations can remain compliance in e-invoicing and e-reporting today, but also in the future. So let's start with why tax authorities all over the globe are introducing mandatory e-invoicing and e-reporting. They are introducing these type of obligations for different reasons that we can categorize in three different categories. So firstly, enhancing tax compliance is a major goal for tax authorities. By requiring electronic invoicing and real-time reporting, tax authorities can significantly reduce the tax evasion and fraud. Secondly, what they want is to close the VAT gap is a priority for tax authorities, and they can do that by getting accurate and timely reporting data. And thirdly, tax authorities see e-invoicing and e-reporting as a key to pave the way for more efficient tax audit and better tax analytics, enabling tax authorities to respond swiftly to economic change and trends. And we saw in the past years during COVID, for example, that a lot of the countries that have introduced e-invoicing said that they were able to help a lot of companies in their countries thanks to those data that they get through e-invoicing and e-reporting. So those data are used for tax and audit and tax fraud, but they could also be used by tax authorities for other reasons. So whenever we are speaking about e-invoicing, as you can see here in this slide, there are a lot of countries who are planning to introduce e-invoicing and e-reporting, or who had already introduced it. So as you can see in this slide, e-invoicing is not new. It has been introduced almost 20 years ago by a lot of countries in the Latin American region. And since then, we saw what some experts would say tsunami or tornado of e-invoicing regulations that being introduced in a lot of countries. So I will not focus on what has been done in the past, but probably the last news about some countries. So I will start with France. If you are doing business in France, you probably know that e-invoicing and e-reporting will start from September 26. But the news is that the French tax authorities in last October revised the scope of their free platform, where in the beginning this platform was supposed to be used by every French company. But with this news, they have decided to reduce the scope of what we call the PPF in order to limit the services that are provided to a central directory, but also be the hub or the concentrator of the e-invoicing data and submit them to the tax authorities. In Belgium, they announced that they will be introducing an e-invoicing mandate starting in 26. They are planning to introduce for B2B transactions the mandatory use of a structured format, which is compliant with the EU standard. And Belgium is planning to introduce the use of PayPal network as a way to be able to exchange invoices. Another country is Slovenia. So starting from June 26, Slovenia will mandate an e-invoicing and e-reporting for B2B business transactions. These regulations will enforce the compulsory exchange of structured invoices in an accepted format, and those data of those e-invoicing need to be submitted to the tax authorities. So obviously, because I know that there are a lot of retail joining this webinar, B2C transactions are not in the scope of the e-invoicing mandate. But usually when they are not in the e-invoicing mandate, there is another obligation where those B2C would need to be reported to the tax authorities. So Spain, we have been hearing about Spain for years now, but the last news about Spain is that the Spanish government has postponed the B2B e-invoicing until 27. The delay is due to slow progress in developing the technical framework needed for the mandate. So the new timeline includes 2 phases for the implementation in 2027 and 28. So we will keep monitoring Spain to see if there are any update, as we are waiting for the technical specifications. So if you are doing business in Germany, you in principle know that the e-invoicing will start in January 25. It's a specific system because the companies will have to receive invoices as far as like if their supplier are sending electronic invoices. So on October 15th this year, Germany published guidance for the implementation of the e-invoicing in the country. You can find a lot of details related to the accepted format, accepted exchange, communication, accepted document, and also the scope of the mandate. We had also news about UAE, where the Ministry of Finance launched an e-invoicing portal in order to provide a lot of information to businesses and also to service providers. So what we know so far is that in order to be able to do e-invoicing there, the service providers need to be certified, and this certification will start soon. In Q2, they will publish the e-invoicing regulations, and businesses will need to be compliant from June 26. If you are doing business in the UK, which is kind of a new, UK government announced that they will promote wider e-invoicing across UK. They have announced that there will be a public consultations that will be launched in spring 25. So at this stage, we don't have any information about the content of these public consultations. Because of the time, I will skip Ireland and Greece, Malaysia, Oman, but if you need to know more about those countries, you can have more information in our website with more detailed articles. So one of the last news is obviously about VIDA. So the European Commission on May 24 published an updated draft of the value-added tax in the digital age package. So after a lot of exchanges of failing to vote this VIDA on November 5th, the ECOFIN met the discussion exchanges and they have managed to vote for VIDA. So all 27 members voted in favor of VIDA. This means that e-invoicing, I forget to go to the other slide. This means that the e-invoicing mandate and e-reporting will start in Europe from 23. You can see here in this slide that VIDA, the aim of VIDA is to introduce mandatory e-invoicing applicable for both domestic and non-domestic transactions, introducing some requirements related to the format of the invoice, the format of the e-reporting, the fact that countries are not authorized anymore to make a clearance model or centralized model as the unique way to exchange invoices. But in the same time, what VIDA is also proposing is the flexibility for countries kind of to do whatever they want to do locally. If they want to keep paper invoices, this is possible. If they want to exclude some invoices from B2B, from the mandate, this is possible. So it is very important to continue to monitor this VIDA project and the implementation of those requirements by each country. Even if we were hoping to have a lot of harmonization, the way how VIDA is being written introduces a lot of exceptions that will be possible for countries. So just to avoid some confusion and to make sure that everyone is aligned when we are speaking about e-invoicing and e-reporting, there are a lot of different categories of those different obligations. From a company perspective, by the end, you will have an obligation to submit your data to tax authorities. But the scope of the data that must be submitted to a tax authority is different from one country to another. And as you can see here, probably the most wider obligation among those 6 is what we call the SAFTI, Standard Audit File for Tax, where a company is obliged to submit to a tax authorities almost all of the financial data. In addition to that, we kind of have VAT listing and real-time reporting that are very similar in terms of the content, where companies usually need to submit invoicing data related to B2B, B2C, B2G, but the timing is a little bit different. And same for B2C reporting. And the one where there will be, or there are a lot of disruption from business perspective, is really B2B invoicing, because if a country is introducing a B2B invoicing, this means that you have the obligation to exchange electronic invoices with your suppliers or with your client. And usually there are different models with the obligation to use a central platform or certified providers. So it is important whenever you are hearing about, hey, there is an e-invoicing mandate in this or this country, to understand the type of the obligation that is being introduced and the scope, in order to clearly understand what is applicable for you and what is not applicable. So the consequences about all of those e-invoicing obligations is that companies kind of suffering and they consider those obligations as a burden because they have a lot of requirements, and those requirements could be different from one country to another. So here again, we have tried to group those different challenges in 4 categories. The first one is the monitoring and the scope of those mandates. So it is very hard to keep update on those e-invoicing, as countries are changing the obligations almost every month. And companies don't have the resources in order to be able to monitor those changes. One of the other problem is what we call here localization with the N, or globalization. So big companies are struggling in order to choose the right e-invoicing solution. So and companies that operate internationally often face the challenge to choose between global or local solutions. So while implementing a global e-invoicing solutions can meet diverse local regulations requirements, provide consistency and efficiency across the market, some local companies would see this as maybe less flexible than what they would expect if they would go with the local providers. But it's still an important decision to make. What we can see is that a lot of international companies started by choosing only one e-invoicing provider for each country, but they are changing their strategy in terms of the provider as they are moving toward the use of a global e-invoicing solution in order to meet the requirement in different countries. The other point maybe where I would like to spend some time is the integration and the interoperability. One of the major challenges is the integration between the ERP of the company and the e-invoicing solution. Specifically, if the e-invoicing solution that is being chosen is a legacy e-invoicing solution, where there is a need for a lot of manual intervention from professional services from the e-invoicing provider versus other new generation e-invoicing solution that provide a single integration or provide connectors, and we will say more about that, where thanks to those connectors it is possible to extract the data, prepare them in the required format instead of spending a lot of time doing this manually. So I'm conscious of the time, so I will not spend more on this slide.
Thank you, Camilla. Okay, so what I want to just talk to you about here is the different types of profiles that we see. So I may work with a number of B2C businesses that are having to adhere to mandates, for example, in the likes of Italy, where they've got that mandate live for B2C. But also within the retail sector, there's a lot of wholesale transactions utilising suppliers, which does bring about the need to adhere to mandates in different countries. Now, a lot of businesses that we speak to at the moment are utilising local providers in all of the countries where they're impacted by mandates. So again, let's go back to that first example that I provided. So they may be selling in Italy and they're impacted by the B2C element to it. They may also have a setup in Hungary and they've got to adhere to Hungarian live reporting, but then also they may be impacted by the B2B mandate that's coming in for AP invoices in Germany from the 1st of January. Now, in that situation, if they are using local providers in each of those countries, that can sometimes pose problems. And they are looking to find a global solution that automates and also simplifies the process of being compliant across those different countries. Now, first and foremost, whenever you're implementing something, you will understand it can be really costly. So where you are adhering to local solutions, that can be something that is economically challenging. But also there's the maintenance of all of those different solutions or maintenance of the relationship if you're using local advisors. The other element to it is wanting to remove any kind of manual element to what a business is doing. And again, sometimes where there is a kind of a decentralized approach, if you like, utilizing those local providers, that can sometimes present an issue for businesses. And of course, that does, bring into scope human error. So there's some of the issues that we see businesses being impacted by, where they're being, affected by mandates in a range of different countries. So they want something that's going to be cost effective. They want something that's going to be easy to maintain and manage, but also that there is going to be no potential risk of human error. It's going to be fully automated with the highest level of compliance. So that's really where sort of Avalara and our solution, our partnership with Fiscal Solutions comes into play, because through that connector they're developing, we can automate the ingestion of the data, but then we've got a scalable solution that can handle the requirements across those countries rather than having a complex setup where you're using local providers. Now, if I move on to the next slide, I just want to take some time here to look at the difference between kind of the AP and the AR. Now, importantly, the automation of data is really crucial here for businesses, because you're all busy and you need to have something that's going to be time effective and is going to optimize what you're doing. So what would happen is for example, your supplier would connect to the applicable network, and then automatically that invoice will be sent into the Avalara solution, where it's validated and processed in line with that particular mandate. Security is essential. So Avalara solution will utilize data encryption to ensure that the data is transmitted securely from, for example, a vendor into the Avalara solution to be processed. And through having that connection with the network, it means that there is the readiness there straight away in order to be able to receive the invoice from suppliers. Now, if we're looking at the other side for the AR, again, the multi-country compliance element is something that's really important, and scalability. So, we are able to connect to networks across countries. We cover over 60 countries at present. And once the data is ingested into our solution and the invoice is constructed in line with that specific requirement for a mandate. So, for example, it may be a QR code, it may be a digital signature. It will then be sent through the required network. So the solution is designed to be scalable and to be able to support multi-countries from a compliance perspective. Now, because of that, that connection, the ability that we are able to support multiple countries, that again future-proofs your business. So a lot of businesses that we see have that worry that they may have a requirement right now, but what about the future? So, as and when these mandates come into play, Avalara's solution is very much scalable and you can add additional countries as you potentially grow. And I think the last point is that there isn't a harmonized approach to countries. Fortunately, lots of countries, for example, use the PEPL network, but if you are present in many different countries, it may be that you're impacted by different formats and different networks. So that's where a solution like Avalara solution comes into its own, because once the data is ingested, as I say, it will then be constructed into the invoice and then sent through the network required by that particular country. So what we're trying to show you here is that it can present challenges when a business has a disjointed approach to adhering to mandates across different countries. And we see businesses wanting a solution that is one connection, where you're going to ingest the data, and through that one solution, you can ensure that you're sending compliant invoices. But then the point is, it's not just about right now, it's about the future and making sure that you are future-proofed for being impacted by any mandates that may come into play. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the complexities we see businesses facing, but also how a solution like Avalara's and through the partnership with Fiscal Solutions, we can help businesses to scale, but also simplify the process to adhering to e-invoicing mandates. Thank you, Camilla.
Thanks. So if we deep dive a little bit more, so as you can see this slide and explained by Stefan, Avalara acts as a central hub for your e-invoicing and your compliance. So incoming invoices from the sellers would flow from different channels like tax authorities, platform, PayPal, DBNA in the US into Avalara, where they are processed and checked for compliance. And then your company will receive a standard invoice in a standard format that could be easily ingested by your ERP. On the outbound side, it will be the same thing. Avalara ensures that the invoices sent to your buyer go through the correct channel, again, directly through the tax authorities portal, through PayPal, through another or equivalent network. And before doing that, we would first ensure that the invoice is compliant according to the local requirement that could be really different from one country to another. So in terms of coverage, as you can see here, is the list of the different portals or network where the Avalara e-invoicing and live reporting solution is connected. So we support a lot of countries that have already introduced an e-invoicing mandate. We are also a PayPal certified access point in different countries, specifically in Asia, where they are introducing the mandatory use of PayPal. As we said, e-invoicing and live reporting solution at Avalara can support both your outbound and inbound invoices. So basically the way how it is working is that the ERP system will need to be connected with Avalara via our global API, which is a global API, is a REST that can be used to connect the ERP with our solution. After that, you will have to prepare the invoice in a format that we will agree together that will be a UBL document, and sending this invoice to Avalara based on the different requirement that is applicable in different countries. We will make sure that the invoice is compliant. If there is a need to host the data in locally in a specific region, our solution is scalable enough to be able to adapt to the localization requirement. If there is a need to encrypt and secure the data using electronic signature, to timestamp the invoice or to sign the invoice, the solution will also be doing that. In some countries, there is an obligation to create a QR code that must be included either in the structured format or in the human readable version. So same here, our solution is able to create a QR code and include it in the invoice. You will also have access, if you want, to a dashboard in order to allow you to have access to the invoices, the different status, because some ERPs are not adapted in order to be able to see this type of insight and real-time monitoring. Same for inbound document. Whatever format is being sent by the different tax authorities portals or network will be received by Avalara ELR. After that, we will check the compliance of the solution based on the different requirements, convert this invoice in the format that is required by the ERP. And here again, using one and single connection for all of the countries that you need to do e-invoicing, you will have the invoices that we received. An important point that I should mention, and that is not included here, is that we have developed a solution that can be easily set up by the users in order to be able to add any country to the solution. So if there is a mandate in France, in Germany, or other countries, you just need to connect to our UI, and from there you can select the country, and you need to provide with the information that are required without any intervention or need for professional services or spend time in order to add the country. I think it will be up to Ivan to present.
Thank you very much, Camila, and thank you very much, Steven, for this presentation. I will need just a minute to include Ivan, to give him a permission like a presenter. But before that, I hope you noticed this little blue button at the top of the screen for those interested in more information or access, or for those of you who want to gain access to our demo system maybe. I want to ask you to feel free to reach out by clicking on the button, and our team is here to answer any questions or provide a more detailed overview of solutions to help you manage e-invoicing effectively. Just a second, Ivan is here. Hello, Ivan.
Hello.
How are you today?
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
I will hand it over to your side to proceed with Avalara e-invoicing for POS powered by Fiscal Solutions.
Thank you, Sonia. Greetings, everyone. Also, thanks to Camila and Stephen for their information. So I am Ivan Horvat, working for Fiscal Solutions for over 10 years. I am head of software development department, and I consider myself an expert in fiscalization. And through our extended partnership with Avalara, I now find myself becoming an e-invoicing expert as well. Now I will proceed with my presentation, which is tailored to showcase Avalara e-invoice and live reporting capabilities integrated in our fiscal solution. So when we talk about what this integration in our fiscal cloud solution is, Avalara e-invoicing for POS is a solution that integrates e-invoicing directly at the point of sale using our fiscal cloud system. This means that e-invoicing is seamlessly embedded within the POS, allowing for real-time transaction processing and compliance without any additional steps for the user. In order to talk how it works, the solution leverages Fiscal Cloud's infrastructure to streamline global compliance. Since Fiscal Cloud is already set up to handle fiscal requirements, integrating Avalara for e-invoicing adds another layer that meets the unique requirements of different countries. This integration allows us to manage invoicing compliance more efficiently using the existing framework of Fiscal Cloud. This approach addresses several key challenges. First, it enhances transparency in financial reporting by automating and accurately tracking each transaction at the POS. Second, it ensures consistent compliance across jurisdictions, making it ideal for businesses that operate in multiple countries. And finally, it increases efficiency in-store invoicing processes by reducing the need for manual intervention. Everything is handled automatically, enabling faster and more accurate transactions processing at the POS. When we talk about transparency in financial reporting, we think about real-time data transmission, detailed audit trails, and standardized data formats. So these transactions is achieved through these parameters. Consistent compliance across jurisdictions is achieved through country-specific mandates, automated legal updates, and centralized compliance management. Moving on to my next slide. Talking about streamlined in-store processes. First, this solution streamlines in-store processes by automating e-invoicing directly at the point of sale. This automation simplifies the transaction process, making it faster and ensuring each transaction is fully compliant with e-invoicing requirements. It reduces manual steps, allowing for quicker and more reliable service at the POS. Regarding the types of integrations, one of the key strengths of Avalara e-invoicing extension of Fiscal Cloud solution is its flexibility. It supports complete integration for all types of transactions supported by Avalara, B2C, B2B, and B2G. This means the solution can handle any invoicing scenario right at the POS, minimizing delays and reducing errors. Whether it is a customer sale, business transaction, or government-related invoice. This solution is designed for global operations, ensuring compliance with e-invoicing mandates in over 60 countries. E-invoicing adapts to the unique regulatory requirements of each region, making global compliance much easier to manage. And lastly, Avalara e-invoicing solution is built with large enterprise in mind. It's scalable and customizable, allowing it to handle high transaction volumes and adapt to specific business needs. This makes it an ideal solution for large organizations that need a robust, flexible, and efficient invoicing system. In this moment, I would like to extend on the problems presented previously by Stephen, where I can draw a line where we provide solution for cases where we ease integration, relying on existing fiscal integration, which will reduce integration and maintenance efforts across countries for the user of our solution. Moving on, I think it will be best pictured if we walk through the process that is happening with the transaction. I think this will help to show in the best way how we can achieve this efficiency if we look in the data flow of how transaction is processed. So we can see on this diagram from the bottom left, the transaction is generated by the POS. POS is sent to our fiscalization module, and this fiscalization module will do all it needs to do to fiscalize the transaction. This transaction is then stored in our central database, and from there, by background processes, it is collected by our Avalara e-invoicing add-on, and it is sent to Avalara. And then through Avalara services, this invoice is forwarded to specific endpoint, maybe government services or some other kind of services that are obligated to process the invoice. Also, I would like to use this opportunity to showcase our integration. I have prepared a demonstration in which I will show how transaction is processed and to show you the main capabilities of our integration with Avalara e-invoicing and live reporting services. To do that, I will now share my screen and show how the transaction arrives, how the real-time processing looks like, and how we can monitor and track the transaction processing. Just give me a second to share my screen. Here we are. So I hope you can see my screen. This is our Fiscal Cloud web application. In this application, there is a menu entry add-on where we can navigate and find our Avalara e-invoicing. So in order to activate the Avalara features in our Fiscal Cloud solution, it is as easy as it is to click the plus button and click activate. When the Avalara e-invoicing add-on is activated, we can configure main parameters. We can also set up and enter parameters that are obtained from Avalara. And when these parameters are filled in, there is also a possibility to check a connection. When we enter this parameter, we can then move on to configure the Avalara e-invoicing configuration through the dedicated Avalara section. We can define a document mapping in which we can set the field mappings between each system from...
Sorry, Ivane, but we can't see your shared screen.
I'm sorry. Just give me a second. Thank you. Thank you. A little technical issue. I apologize. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies. So when we configure the add-on, we can enter the Avalara parameters, test the parameters, and when this is done, we move on to dedicated Avalara section where we can define the document mapping. We can define how each field is mapped between Fiscal Cloud OMG format and Avalara's UBL format. But this is, of course, optional. There is a default configuration. Then we can define mandate configuration, which actually enables the processing of Avalara add-on. So we can, for example, choose to this configuration will be applied on the scope of all the transactions within our solution, which will be, and each transaction will be checked for whether it fulfills these conditions. So here we define conditions which are used to screen the transactions which will be processed by Avalara add-on. We can define that all transactions for Germany that are invoice, simplified invoice or invoice request, are processed by Avalara add-on. And when we configure that, it just remains to, so when we configure that, our system will automatically begin to process all the transactions and send the transaction data to Avalara for fulfilling e-invoicing requirements. We can showcase this on example for Croatia. We can see a few transactions that have been sent to Avalara, and we can now, for each transaction, check the status. When the transaction has started the processing, that transaction has been delivered, and how to say, when it has been processed by Avalara, we can also download all the related documents. For example, we can download documents in various formats that can be used to further process the invoice if needed. This is general overview of how the Avalara solution is integrated, how the Avalara services are integrated into Fiscal Cloud solution. I would also like to show shortly, in case that anything goes wrong, in sense that we need to diagnose an issue, there is a possibility to do that too, and there is a log that we can check that will allow us to see what has been happening in the background. So we can review what has been happening in the background. We can see a successful cases, but we can also see a cases in case an issue arises. In our scenario, everything has been processed successfully regarding the transactions we viewed, but we have some sample transaction which we can look and see what happened. So in this case, we had one case where we didn't have permission to send the data, but for each transaction, it is possible to trace into detail what happened with it. Or, for example, for successful transaction, we can see each stage of communication is possible to track. This would be all I have intended to share regarding the application. So I would like to give a word to Sonia now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivane, for this presentation and for showing us the version, how it works in real life. But now I want to proceed to Q&A session. We all gathered all the questions, and we will answer some of them now during this part of webinar. So let's get started with the first questions. I need to include our colleagues from Avalara because there is some questions for them too. Okay. Steven, can you hear us? Okay. First question is if there's an error with an invoice, can it be tracked and fixed right away even?
So yeah, when we talk, it is exactly what I showed in my last slide. So for each issue that arises, it is possible to easily find exactly what happened because we have all this audit trail data that will show that which part of the system has tried to do the operation, and for each operation we can see all the details regarding the communication, and all the relevant information. So yes, it is possible, and it is really easy to do so.
Okay, and how easy is to scale up with Avalara?
This is also
This is a question for Avalara, but Stephen,
maybe,
and for
maybe
some reason.
Can you hear me?
Oh, here, yes.
There you
Just turn on your camera.
Okay, fantastic. Hopefully
Sorry.
you can no problem at all. Scaling up is very easy. It's been designed to be scalable. So as part of the building of the connector with Fiscal Solutions, a lot of the data mapping and the validation would already been completed. So therefore, a lot of the legwork is done. So when you're adding new countries, that's a seamless process. And again, the solution is designed to be scalable. So that will be a quick and easy process for any business.
Okay, and another question is, how would we connect to Avalara?
Well, this is the beauty of the connector that Fiscal Solutions has developed. So that's going to make it much easier. So you'll be able to use that pre-built connector, which means that the implementation is going to be much quicker. As I said previously, the mapping's already done, the validation's already done. So once that connector's in place, then it's activating the mandate and you're ready to go. So it's very easy, utilizing that connector to feed the data into Avalara's system.
Thank you for that answer. And what countries does Avalara cover? As the next question.
Yeah, we've got broad coverage, so we've got over 60 countries in the solution at the moment. But as mandates are kind of being announced, the solution is therefore becoming capable with those mandates. So, for example, the likes of Italy, the mandate coming into play in Germany from the 1st of January, the solution is scaling up to better cover those as they impact businesses. And I think with that as well, we've got an extensive roadmap. So we understand that there are countries introducing mandates that will impact businesses, particularly in the retail sector. So, as part of our product team's remit, they are looking to kind of add new countries into the scheduling as those mandates grow.
Okay, thank you. And we have one more question for you too, is how Avalara actually ensure that changes in mandates are updated?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So, we've got a huge content team across our solutions. Those content teams, their job is to ensure that our solutions are up to date with regulatory, legislation and laws. But also importantly, with that, our team at Avalara has got really close relationships with the different tax offices. So, as and when information is being passed on, we will make sure that that's updated within our solution to provide businesses with the highest level of compliance.
Thank you, Stephen, very much. But I have a few more questions for Ivan. Ivan, are you with us?
Yes,
he's here. Okay. The next question is, do we need to change anything in our current fiscal cloud setup to start using Avalara e-invoicing?
So actually, for all the current setups, there is no need to change anything. Only in case that there are changes in regulations that would require an extension, but this also applies in the same way for fiscalization. For example, if you need to add additional field, then it may be necessary to change the integration with the POS to capture more data.
Thank you. And one more question, and because we are running out of time, how fast can we get Avalara e-invoicing up and running in Fiscal Cloud?
I like this question because I hope I can answer it easily, which would depend if I have been able to show the activation process clearly. But I would say it is easy as 1, 2, 3. Just activate, contact Avalara, get the parameters, enter the parameters, and set up the mandate configuration. This is all, and it will start automatically processing.
Thank you, Ivan. And we are running out of time, as I already mentioned, but I need to tell you that all of your questions that you asked us in the chat or on the mail, we will answer them as soon as possible after this webinar. But I want to address something at the end. I'm very excited to announce an upcoming retail talks where we will cover the latest developments in the world of retail technology. So I will ask you to feel free to follow us on social media and join us to stay informed on the newest trends and solutions in the retail industry. And finally, I want to thank again Stephen, Ivan, and Camila, of course, for participation in this webinar. I hope you got all some good information and new knowledge. And finally, I want to thank you, audience, for joining us today once again. And we appreciate your time, and we are looking forward to connecting with you in the future. Thank you once again, and have a nice day.